È la prima volta a IAB Forum, è il Digital Prophet di AOL. Un grandissimo applauso, David Shing! Oh! Hello, man.
Hi, buongiorno. So now we switch to English. I'm sorry, but it's incredible to be in a country where you guys can speak so many languages. My Italian sucks, so I apologize. I have not been in Milan for probably 6 years, but it's incredible to be in the capital of fashion, food, and art. And with that, I'm going to spend about 15 minutes walking pretty quickly with you, and hopefully you guys find this to be pretty interesting, because look, man, the reality is we're in a place right now where culture and code is changing. 1 second. My fabulous presentation is not connecting. 1 minute, 1 second. Yeah, isn't that great? I got a great presentation for you and I can't even use it. 1 sec. What a great start. Okay. Honestly, it's not doing it. Woohoo! 1 sec. Yeah. 1 sec. All right. We'll see if this will work. Thankfully. Okay. I come from a country and a company that sold more CDs on the planet than people. And we switched that into a company that loves to think about building brands and people. But I want to talk about 3 things with you today, and it's culture, and it's code, and it's creativity. So they're the 3 things I'm really going to highlight this morning, if my presentation works well. So let's go. And with that, this is an example of culture. Here's an example of what happens when one company over-indexes on really the culture of technology, and they forget about what happens when the code of technology comes along, which is really what somebody like Google will do. And maybe I'll get there here like this. Oh, my God. Maybe I can do this. That's what happens when you have code. And if you over-index on too much code, you end up with a situation where you have Google Glass. Google Glass is an example of code that doesn't work really well. And then when you think about what happens with the culture 18 months later, you end up with this. And what this is an example of Snap. And what Snap are doing are building a pair of goggles that allow you to connect. And that's the beauty of where we are today, is that if you started out with something that's too much code, like Google Glass, you end up with no friends. If you end up with something like Snap, you end up with something that's really culturally magnificent. But understanding human needs is half the job of fulfilling it, period. And what I mean by that is there's a couple of ways you can think about that. You can either do it via, something like this, which is understanding what the human brain can do. And if you do that, you're going to end up with this amazing sense of what people are about. And what I think about this is there are 2 ways to do it. You can do psychographic targeting, which is how do you target people through psychographics, or you can do Maslow's rule of hierarchy. But hang on, I'm having problems with my presentation. Next. This is psychographically targeting. Next slide. This is Maslow's rule of hierarchy. If you go to the next slide for me, what this will do is tell you that technology is changing our behavior. What it's not changing is our human need. Our needs are rooted in the DNA of humans, and that's the reality of where we are. So next slide. And the challenge is this, when people want to talk about the connected human, next slide, what we end up having is this. So next slide for me. You end up with this. This is an example of the connected human. Now the problem with the connected human is that they don't really understand that this is not about where connection's about. And what I mean by that is if you think about where we go with connections, you end up with something that ends up being disconnected. So if you go to the next slide for me, here's an example of realities. Now the realities that you have are 4. You have virtual reality, which are goggles on, next slide. And you have this. And that's interesting because what happens is it's disconnected from humans. And you go to the next slide. What happens today with virtual reality, the difference between if you and I went and saw a film, that is called linear storytelling. But the next slide what happens is when you put these goggles on, you end up having a multiple dimension. And that's where the future of this immersion is going. So you already heard about where advertising is headed and how you're increasing your percentages of advertising. Where this is really headed is the ability to actually be the director of your own story. And that's very different in our world today. Next slide. And an example of the other reality is augmented. This is augmented reality, which I really love. However, if you think about augmented reality, this is an example of a young lady that's trying on makeup and it's in real time. If you go to the next slide, this shows you about reality.
This is the Jaguar F-Type simulator. It's just sitting on a 6-axis hydraulic platform here. Roll you around, lift up, down.
How rough are we getting back?
Once you're wearing this helmet, that's really going to simulate exactly what it's going to be like on the track.
Very good.
Make sure you brace yourself. Good luck.
Okay, Glenn, I'm about to start the ride.
Welcome to
I think that crashed my machine. You got it? Just hit play. Hit OK. Oh, it's amazing to be at a conference this morning and have so many tech difficulties. I promise you I am not going to use my Mac ever again. My apologies for that. It's very embarrassing for me to not be in control of my own machine. But let's have a look to see whether we can get back there. So if you could bring that up, that'd be amazing. It probably crashed my machine. This is one of my best senses of where we are today. Yeah, that's okay. Keep going. Yeah, next one. No, not working. All right, let me pause. I want to just say this. The wrong presentation is now up. So not only is it is working now, it's just the wrong presentation. Will you give me 1 second? Talk amongst yourselves. 1 sec. Let me come around.
A mio 3, fermi, c'ho la tecnica. Cintura nera di presentazioni andate di sfiga. Allora, pronti? A mio 3, pronti? Mani così. 1.
I'm back.
2, 3, 4. Whoa!
All right. Let's just do a quick vote. Who thinks my presentation is going to continue to crash? Hands up. Excellent. Let's carry on. Nothing like a tech presentation talking about the entire landscape of what's going on with technology that will not work for me. Okay, let's talk about IoE. IoE is the internet of everything. It's also very quickly becoming the internet of emotions. It's not about physical things. These are incredible technologies, by the way. This is an example of something you clip to your pillow and it monitors your sleep pattern. This is an example of invisible interfaces. They're coming. So just when you guys think about this, that's not where it's headed. It's headed to places that are totally invisible, where a lot of these things don't happen because of the phone. Look at this. This is a translation beta company that I would love to work with, where if I wanted to speak Italian, I put these headphones in, and it translates your language in English for me. And I put away my phone. These technologies are coming. You've also got this. This is a tattoo membrane. This allows you to do keyboard shortcuts by a tattoo that's on your body. And this sort of stuff will last a couple of weeks. These are the sort of things you have access to. You also have wearables. Has anybody got a wearable on in this room right now? Okay. Does anybody have a wearable at home and not on their body? Typically, more hands go up because what happens is it does the same bloody thing your phone does. But what's also amazing about it is there are beautiful objects and they're all over our bodies. They do a lot of different things for us, but primarily do something that your phone does. So understand that to adopt a new habit, you have to be prepared to break one. And so if you look at these are all beautiful objects, but what's happening is the bigger challenge of this, they're trying to find a home. Meaning they haven't quite landed today where we really want them to land. Because, again, a lot of us look at our phone and think, oh, our phone does pretty much the same thing. But these are all different shapes and sizes. Some of them look gender biased. Some of them look like they're just, supercomputers on your wrist. But they're really quite amazing technologies. And there's 290 of them in the fitness category alone. In fact, they're all over our bodies, including our cats and dogs. That's how crazy we are about this category. But what I find fascinating is they're leaving our bodies and going elsewhere.
Have
Check
you
it.
ever noticed that the world's most powerful men don't carry a wallet? In fact, have you ever seen them pay for anything? Well, now you can join them. Introducing the MJ Bale Power Suit. In collaboration with Heritage Bank and Visa PayWave, we've developed the technology to embed a contactless payment chip and antenna into the sleeve of a suit. So now you can pay invisibly wherever you go. And because it's linked to...
That's the sort of invisible interfaces that I'm talking about. In your Armani suit, you will have a contactless chip that makes payments for you. But what I love about this is the question that you're asking yourself as a marketer. All right, so what? Good question. The reality is this. You are in the business, I believe, of sight, sound, and motion. To do what? Create emotion. Why? 75% of purchase decisions today are made by emotion. So it doesn't matter what sort of data slide we put up, it's all about emotional advertising. And the key to this is we sell to the heart, we justify to the head. Now, if you have a marketing degree, there were 4 Ps that you grew up with. These are the 4 Ps that brands still talk about, but they're no longer relevant. It's been replaced with these: platforms, performance, partnerships, and pedigree. They're the new 4 Ps that you have at your disposal, not the old 4 Ps that were invented in the 40s. And the reality is, life has changed since I grew up from Australia. If you guys have been wondering about my accent, that's where I'm from. That's the town I'm from. That's the house I grew up in. That's my family. I'm one of 10 children. 2-bedroom house, 12 people, lots of therapy. But at 17 was when I had freedom, independence, and self-expression. At 17. Now, what's amazing, though, if you have children, this is your world. 37% of children under the age of 2 can operate your devices better than you can. The challenge is when you give them analog, they think shit's broken. So I don't think print will be on the decline for too long. Crazy. Children. God bless them. But here's what's fascinating for me. It's no longer about consumers consuming content. Those days are well over. Now what you've got is a creator, a critic, and a curator of experiences. Welcome to the Slash Gen. These are the little guys who believe that they're everything. They are an artist, a blogger, a VJ, a DJ. They're an influencer, ambassador, and somebody who really understands these tools and technologies better than anything we've ever seen before. And they swarm to bright lights. Just when you've figured out where to put your brand, they go somewhere else. Because the power of this is their audiences have their own audience, and you know that. So you have to build content that's contagious for them to actually get elsewhere. And this is what you're competing against. Personal expression as the new form of entertainment. You've got people climbing to the top of buildings to do extreme selfies. There are more people dying from extreme selfies than shark attacks. And they're falling off these buildings. So that's what you have to deal with. So it's no longer about the me generation. They're very much about the community of lots of people. Now here's the problem. Today, you are judged upon popularity. The reality is this. What's happening with the network? It's locking itself down. So people are actually closing their networks and they're setting their own private networks up. And the real new interface for social interaction is messaging. This is the biggest anxiety attack on my to-do list today, which is, please God, someone respond to me. And what's amazing is they transact. So in Asia, they use WeChat. This is an example of Christian Dior selling their bags for $4,000 on Messenger, on WeChat, and selling out in 2 days. That's the power of the intimacy of closed networks. Now, these young adults, guess what? They're bored. And you know what's fascinating for me is they also look to these experiences for entertainment. And most of them are happening on a screen. And they're happening on multiple screens every day. They use 4 screens. So creativity is being redefined. This is the attention economy we're working with. It doesn't matter what the IAB come up with for measurement. It's going to be the attention economy that we care about. And this thing is why. It's all about mobility. Now, in your country, you way over-index on mobility. We all suffer from tech neck. But at almost 150% of this population are mobily connected. It's heavy, dude. For a country of 61 million people, that's a lot of connectivity. And so many people still treat it like an infant, which I think is rubbish, because in 97, I could text message Coca-Cola and interact with their products. You have to experiment. And why? Because these are the bad ads that you have opportunity to buy. These are the dumb apps that you have. I live in New York City. That's an app of Starbucks. It shows me a map of North America. Excellent. This is an app I paid $1.99 for, which is how long can I hold down my thumb for on my iPhone screen. But what is incredible is that 88% of what you do is app-driven. It's not about the mobile web. And here's what's incredible. You download fewer apps, you spend more time and money on the ones you already have. So about 70% of us will try mobile experience once. And it's incredible that there's the blue sky for you. Now, why is it important? Because if they fall in love with you on your mobile, they'll become a power user. And that's where the industry will change from advertising, which is awareness, to advocacy, which is word of mouth. Peer-to-peer, interconnected networks. That is where we're headed. So what else is hot? You have to think about reinventing your product. Now, you guys have a history of this. Olivetti, in the 30s, really, I think, founded startups, the idea of thinking about the innovation economy. And today, you have to reflect back cultural change as marketing, period. Here's a great example. Coca-Cola for personalization. Mondelez for customization. Or something that's useful, like Coca-Cola in Vietnam. All their bottles still ended up in landfill. So what they did is they changed each one of their bottles to be a different bottle top, so you now got a product of purpose. And you also need to think about how can you reflect back cultural change as marketing. What are you doing to reflect that? Here's an example. Hacking your brand. Check it.
In many countries, DHL has more locations, more vehicles, and more employees. That's why DHL is faster. However, to communicate this with a classic advertising campaign is expensive. So why couldn't the competitors advertise for DHL? For that purpose, giant packages were taped all over with thermoactive foil and cooled down below the freezing point. In this way, the competitors picked up a black package that transformed back at temperatures above freezing and delivered the message in the most beautiful colors.
I mean, how amazing is it to think about what you can do to brand hack? But you also have to understand that context matters. Build good content, put it in smart places. Easy for me to say, really hard for you to do. But that's the new job. Because here's the deal, guys. If you think about what people want, especially young adults, that most brands want to enable them to grow up with their brand, you need to do 4 things. You need to help them co-create. You need to help them connect. You need to reward them and recognize them. That's exactly how we want these young adults to grow up with your brands. And one way to do that is video. You already saw from the 2 presentations already this morning that did work, that it is about video. It's the #1 thing that's growing for you here, video and television, which is almost the same thing. We're freaky for it. The global population love video. All the social platforms are forcing video on you. You are the ones experimenting with video today, and it doesn't matter what you do, whether it's long form or short form. We're in a show me culture like this. This is a story in 6 seconds. Watch this thing. Crazy. 6 seconds that story's told. But look, here's the reality. The most abused word in our industry is storytelling. The truth is, it's less about the telling, it's more about the story. And that's the beautiful thing about how we're going to get this industry moving forward. And here's an example of a story that I think is stunning.
Follow the night, can't stand the light. One day I'll fly away, leave all this to yesterday. What more can your love do for me? When will love be through with me? Why live life from dream
What's beautiful about that is coming close to the holiday season, you have a very heavy retailer out of the UK who decides it's all about emotion. Remember, we sell to the heart, we justify to the head. But don't you love it when people allow their brand to be remixed, to be recreated, to recognize and reward those mixes that I talked about, and the internet takes over, because you end up with something as amazing as this.
One day I'll fly away, leave all this big life, go dream and dread.
We're not quite ready for that in the US, but it is incredible the power allowing people to remix. Don't clap that. But I do want to show you one other piece. Just to confirm how incredible it is when you allow people to think about the culture of reflecting back marketing changes, you end up with something as beautiful as this too. Check this out. But look, here's the reality.
Don't thank me. Thank the
The
savings.
point is, if you build incredible contextual advertising that reflects back cultural change, whether you allow people to remix or you do something as smart as this, which is Geico doing a 6-second ad that allows you to skip, but what happens is they decide to keep the cameras rolling, you end up with an experience that people can't take their eyes off. And we may have gone 2 or 3 minutes over, and I apologize for that, but I think this content is worth absorbing because it just shows you that the power of great story that talks to the emotion of people will win brand love every single day. And the reason why I would love to come and see your market as often as you'll have me is this beautiful quote by Katharine Hepburn, and I leave you with this. If you break all the rules, you miss all the fun. And that's the reality of why we became creatives in the first place. And with that, thank you for indulging my technical problems, but have a great afternoon, guys. Take care. See you later.
Oh, stay here with me 1 second. Stay here with me 1 second. I want to say one thing. David Shing, he's stronger than the technical problems, you know. David Shing, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Good job, man. All right.